they were espousing values around being Black, being women-owned, these things. So I'm like, here I am, a Black woman creator who has invested her own time, her own energy, her own money to be able to create on YouTube, to the point where I made something that was so good that you want to use it for your own production. And when I ask you to pay me, you're not willing to do that. Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So I want to talk to y'all about money because I recently decided to no longer offer my coaching consults for free. This is something that I have been doing since I started coaching, creative coaching, about a year or so ago. I used to do coaching as a part of my full-time role when I worked in the nonprofit space, and I did that for about 3.5 years. And so when I started my own separate coaching business, I had a lot of insecurity around whether or not I could actually help people. And I was still sort of building out what it meant to be coached by me. I had a very broad sort of umbrella because creative coaching is very broad. I didn't want to limit it down because I knew, and this is the truth, y'all, my coaching is pretty much just unlicensed therapy. Like, that's really what I'm doing. And in just being in conversation with me, like as a friend, I am the kind of person who's gonna just sort of like ask certain questions and mirror certain things back to you. And just naturally, I'm friends with people who are very healing oriented, improvement oriented. And so they appreciate my friendship because I'm like that too. And so it's these very creative, constantly evolving, constant growth minded kinds of friendships. And so essentially I bring that same energy to my coaching clients, only we're more specifically helping them reach a creative goal, or usually a few creative goals of theirs. And I've had a number of coaching consults with people who were interested, and the way I phrased the invitation to the consult mirrored what I got, which was, if you think you might want coaching, let's hop on this call and let's see if we are a good fit for each other. So it wasn't like, this is for people who are pretty serious about coaching and let's move forward. People who have any questions, they want to get them answered. It was like, let's just see, you know? Because that's where I was in my coaching business journey, where it's like, let's just see. I'm figuring it out as I go. Let's figure it out together, right? But as a result, I ended up talking to a lot of people who I knew pretty much right away weren't necessarily aligned, but I love talking to people and I love helping how I can. And so I would still be there and show up and we would have like a nice conversation, right? I had enough people say, I don't want to waste your time, that I realized, Chimdi, you've been wasting your time. Which is like, wow, I have. Now that I've done more coaching and done more creative coaching, I have a much better sense of what my coaching actually is. And I have a much better sense of who would really benefit from the coaching. And it's people who are already essentially committed to what they're going to do, but they need help to take it further. They need to help to get to that next step. So it's not so much for folks who haven't started at all, because there is a certain level of self-responsibility, self-efficacy, self-motivation required, because I'm not the one doing the work. I'm the one helping you unblock the limiting beliefs keeping you from doing the work so you can do it yourself. But if you aren't internally, intrinsically motivated to create, working with me isn't going to help you get there, because that's actually about you. Right? And so I'd have people who would come who would be in stages of the dreaming phase, right? To get from the dreaming phase to like making your first thing is pretty big, because it's all emotional. It's all emotional fear work. It's a lot easier if you've already done some things, and so you already actually are pretty confident, but you're just trying to get better. Like, you're basically committed to it. And I was scared about essentially not being able to please everyone. That's really what it comes down to. I know that I could help those people. If people really wanted the support, I could work with them and we could get them to their very first thing if they've never done anything creative in their life. But ultimately, that wouldn't be the best use, because you need like support. Like, you usually need therapy. You need to be you need this very strong container, especially if there's like a lot of fear. So for instance, I did one coaching consult. The woman joined the call and she wanted to start her YouTube channel, and she had her ideas. And so I was like, let's start scripting our first video, right? Because usually it's the process of creating that brings up the stuff that needs to be looked at and needs to be examined and released and let go. And so that's what I do, is I'm like, great, let's start working on it right now. And then you're gonna get that resistance and we're gonna feel into what that is so we can release it. And so I'm encouraging this woman in the same way. She goes, she gets her like laptop or whatever, she pulls out her ideas, she picks the one. We start working on the first script, immediate tears, just tears. And truly the entire call was spent with her just weeping. This is why I'm here to hold space. So I was just like, all right, okay, and I just, she was able to get out and she was apologizing. And I'm like, there's nothing to apologize for. Because I recognize that when we heal, a lot of it is to feel the things that we couldn't feel. And we need someone who is safe, who is a good container, so that we can feel these things. So it's an honor truly to hold space for people. But then she realized like, oh yeah, I'm not ready for this, because if I can't even kind of start writing celebrating without crying, there's more inner work for me to do. And that's true. When we have gifts, and this is something I'm learning as a projector in human design, when you have gifts, I really want to help everyone. And that's why I love YouTube, because I can just make these videos and share what I'm learning. Whoever can benefit from it can get what they want to get out of it. But when it comes to actually running a business and being more focused and supporting people, it isn't actually a good use of my time, because you really can't be everything for everyone, especially where I'm at in my business, where it's currently just me. I don't have assistants and teams, and I'm not delegating anything. It is me working one-on-one with people. As I've been doing more healing work, of course, I've had more experiences that are showing me the areas where I am not honoring myself and honoring my own time. So I actually had an interesting experience recently where someone wanted to work with me, and they essentially wanted me to do group coaching. And I did group coaching at my last role, but in the same way that I did individual coaching for a while, but I still needed that time to figure out, okay, but what does that look like for me as an individual doing that in a creative way? It's the same for group coaching. And I host group calls. I've done that with Adobe. I do that on my own Patreon call. I'm fine with facilitating group conversations, but if I were gonna say this is something I do group coaching, I wanna feel very confident about what I can do and how I can help people and the way it's structured and all that. So this person was kind of I felt like pressuring me to be like, hey, no, let's make it work. Let's hop on a call. Let's do this. Let's do that. I realized like, yeah, this actually isn't aligned. And then on top of that, they were like, and yeah, we don't have any budget, so we're not going to pay you for any of your time. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense, you know? And so I was like, actually, like, I'm not really interested, essentially. And I realized like, oh, this is where the healing comes in. This is where embodying the yes and the no comes in, because I was still doing that polite, not at this time, giving excuses for not being interested instead of just being like, no, you know, and that just being a full sentence, as Oprah says. I actually had a recent experience with a production company that was working on a program that was focused on Black women. They reached out and they said, hey, can we use one of your YouTube clips as B-roll for our program? Truly, I was fine with it. I was like, sure. So they sent over a contract, and in the contract, I saw that it said, for this certain amount of a fee, we can use this clip. And it hadn't even occurred to me to ask for money. So I kind of reached out and I was like, oh, I see there's a fee here. Like, let's negotiate that. And it was very interesting because this production company is associated with people that, if I were to say their names, you'd be like, I think they have money. But they were doing that whole, actually, we don't really have any money. And it was interesting too, because they were espousing values around being Black, being women-owned, these things. So I'm like, here I am, a Black woman creator who has invested her own time, her own energy, her own money to be able to create on YouTube, to the point where I made something that was so good that you want to use it for your own production. And when I ask you to pay me, you're not willing to do that. And it made me realize that it was just truly a way for me to be mirrored back what was going on in my own internal system, because it hadn't occurred to me to ask for money. Like, I am making this video staring into this Canon camera and the Sigma lens, and I've got a microphone attached to it, and I'm gonna take this SD card, I'm gonna put it on my Lacy hard drive, which also costs money, and I'm gonna edit it on my Mac laptop, which also costs money, using Premiere Pro, which also costs money, and I'm gonna use my time to make something. And by me not even thinking to ask for money in exchange for that showed that I wasn't even in that mindset of valuing my own time and my own money. I feel very grateful because I'm now at the point where I can bring awareness and start doing the intentional work and making intentional choices where I'm communicating and saying, hey, I value myself. Because that is truly the biggest part, I think, of creating, is to be able to say what I have to say is important. Who I am is important. My message is important. So it's important that I do what I have to do to put myself out there and create how I have to create, because the world is better for it. The world is worse off if I'm not showing up every day and creating. And that's the case for all of us. If you have something on your heart, if you have a song on your heart, a video, a fashion line, a YouTube channel, whatever you have that's on your heart to put in the world, we are missing it. Just look around our life. There's everything that is here was once an idea in someone's mind, and they chose to implement it and actually make it real, and then we get to benefit. I'm only making this video because Sigma made these lenses and Canon made these cameras and Steve Jobs made the laptops. I rely on so many people to be able to do what I do. And in the same way that I make these videos, there's someone watching this video who's like, I'm so grateful you create these. And I feel so grateful. I've gotten so many messages, especially lately, from people saying, thank you for making your videos. Like, you are helping me in such a profound way. I'm so grateful to you. And there's not always people who are leaving comments. It's people who are like sliding in my DMs and saying, just so you know that what you're putting out there is making a difference in my life. And that's how it is for every single person who has something on their heart. If they were to put it out there, it would make a difference in someone's life. It's important. We are important. And it took me a while to realize that, but it was actually something that the wonderful Danelle shared in our last Patreon Zoom call. She tried to get into A Course in Miracles. It's a big book, so she was like, I can't do all that. But she did get like a set of cards, but she's the kind of person who was like Xing through things like, this don't make sense. And so she like picked up one of the cards, she had done that, and the card said, everything you teach others, you are teaching yourself. And I realized as a creative coach who's like supporting and encouraging and inspiring other people to show up creatively and show up authentically and help them heal, help them remove limiting beliefs that's keeping them from showing up how they want to in a way to bless the world, that's actually me teaching myself. And that's why I love YouTube, because I'm getting to in real time show y'all that process of learning these things, because we don't come out of the womb having it all figured out. We go through life and we figure it out. And that's the point, is the process of learning and growing and creating and evolving, and there's always more to learn and to grow and to create and evolve. It never stops, and that's what's fun. That's the fun part, is that we always get better and better and better. This is a long way of saying that you can truly no longer talk to me for free. Which isn't true. That's not true. That's not true. But in terms of the creative coaching, I'm gonna have that energetic boundary around people being genuinely resourced and committed to do that work. And at the same time, I'm showing up here consistently on YouTube. So if you have a question, if you have something that's on your heart, I genuinely love, and I'm gonna keep giving invitations to share those with me so I can create videos that help and give you some wisdom or something around that challenge, because I don't want it to be a barrier where people are like, oh, I don't have hundreds of dollars, so I can't work with Chimdi. It's like, no, truly drop me a comment. I'll make a video, join me in the Patreon, we can chat. But if you want some of that more focused, specific attention and support that's informed by all of my investments in myself, then go ahead and give me some money, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Patreon people, y'all are the best. Thank you. I'll see y'all every other Saturday on my lives and on those Patreon calls. Let me know in the comments how you're doing. All right, I love y'all.